In this video, I'm going to show you how to quickly change chords. I'm going to give you 4 tips to help you with that, with your speed and the fluidity of how you change those chords. So for example, if we're going to use an E minor chord, looking at our chord chart here, we know that we're going to be using our 2nd finger and our 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the A string and the D string. Okay? So tip number 1, what you want to do is you want to keep your fingers when you're changing. So I'm going to go from an E chord to a C chord. You want to keep your fingers as close to the strings as possible. Okay, so if that means if I'm changing from E to C, I don't want to take my fingers off really far like this, because the further they come off, the further they have to travel back. So you want to kind of keep them close and get into a natural muscle structure of those fingers changing. Okay? So keep your fingers as close to the strings as possible. You will come off a little bit. That's okay. Just you don't want to have what we call flying fingers and have them come way back here or even under the neck. Okay? Tip number 2, you want to build your chords from the bottom up. So what that means is our bottom string here, this is going to be our 6th, right? Where does the pick strike first? If you're strumming on an average down strum in a song, your pick is going to strike your 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and your 1 first, okay? So if I'm building a new chord, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to build it from the bottom up, which means if I'm going, if I'm going to form a C chord, I'm going to start with my ring finger. I'm going to hit that one first on the 3rd fret of the A, and then following that would be the 2nd finger on the D string on the 2nd fret, and then finally my index pointer finger would come last and it would fall onto the B string on the 1st fret. So it would look kind of like this. You don't want to build it from the top down. Why? Again, because if you're strumming and you're trying to play fast, where's your pick going to strike first? It's going to strike on these bottom strings, right? And so by building your chords from the bottom up this way, you can start to strum at the same time as forming the chord and fretting, and then you buy the other remaining fingers more time to land. So if I'm strumming down like this, then by the time I strum through, the other fingers have had a chance to land, as opposed to building it from the top down, where I might get some open notes in there before those fingers have had a chance. And this can be a bad habit in the beginning that a lot of people will start forming chords from the top down. Try to get into the habit of building from the bottom up. Okay? So that means with a G, same thing. With an A, same thing. Alright, tip number 3. Lead with the finger that has the furthest to travel. So your lead off runner, lead with the finger that has the furthest to travel. So that means if I'm going to go from for example, a G chord here, right, to a C chord, the finger that's going to travel the furthest is going to be my 3rd ring finger, okay? So I'm going to be going from here, right here on this G chord, and I have to travel all the way over to the A string on the 3rd fret. So I'm going to lead off with that one first, okay? So that should work pretty fine with rule number 2, because you're building it from the bottom up. So I'm going to lead off with the 3rd and then form the C chord from the bottom up. Okay, so leading off with this finger. Alright, tip number 4. Keep the right hand moving at all times. Now if you're just starting to learn open chord shapes, then I would suggest you just practice the shapes and building them from the bottom up like we previously discussed. If you're ready for some strums, then you want to keep that right hand moving. So if you're strumming a strum pattern like this, and you run into a chord that you don't know, you don't want to stop, right? What you want to do is keep that right hand moving, which kind of forces your left hand to find that chord shape. And even if it doesn't sound right, that's okay. Keep running through the cycle of those chords, because over time, your left hand will catch up. It'll learn to catch up. And if you're a lefty on playing guitar, it'll be the opposite. But your fretting hand will catch up to the right strumming hand eventually. So you just want to be in the habit of what I call finishing the race. Get all the way through and keep that right hand moving. So even if I hit a bad note, I'm going to start again. Just keep going. Eventually I'll hit it. Keeping that right hand moving is very important. The right hand is your rhythm section, it's your drummer, it's everything, it's the groove, and it's so important. And finally, a bonus tip, practice to the metronome. Keeping the right hand moving with your chord changes. Using all the tips we talked about.